So Thomas Jefferson inherited his slaves. He inherited them from his dad, and he inherited them from his father-in-law. The ones that he purchased were to reunite with their families on his farm. And this is all meticulously documented in the farm book, and it's been corroborated in the memorandum book and the Jefferson Papers. Some of the entries include, quote, purchase of Nancy Fawcett to reunite with her husband William and their children, 1810. And paid for Juba and Grace to reunite with their brother Moses, 1801. In 1797, he purchased Mary Colbert and her 2 children from a Dr. Gilmore to reunite with her husband. And in the letter that he wrote Dr. Gilmore on March 12th, it stated clearly that he was offering to purchase her to reunite with her husband. Gilmore agreed, and he charged Jefferson £170 for Mary and £70 for her 2 children. Thomas Jefferson purchased them so that they could be together. Now, he tried 4 times that are well recorded to have slavery abolished. The first time was in 1769, where he wrote a bill in the Virginia House. And in 1776, it's widely known that he wrote abolition into the Declaration of Independence. In 1778, he tried to revise the Virginia Constitution, and in 1784, he tried to ban slavery in the Western Territories. But Josie, why couldn't he have just snapped his fingers and freed them? Glad you asked. Let's get into that. So slavery was institutionalized in the same way student loan debt and credit card debt was today. It's really hard to end it, isn't it? Guys are having a little bit of trouble, aren't you? Yeah, that's the way kind of it's always been. But you know what? Let's create a scenario where you decided you'd had enough, and you were the type of person to free your slaves. Let's say you had 100 free and clear. You owed no mortgages on them. Well, here is that process. First, you would need to obtain permission from the county court for each slave's manumission. It's their freedom. 100 petitions. Cool. Let's say you did that. Now you'd have to prove meritorious service by each slave, such as saving the life of a free person. You know what? Let's say you could do that too. Let's say you were walking by with all of your slaves and there was a church burning to the ground, and each one of your slaves, each one of them ran into that church and each one of them pulled a person out of it. Great. Well, now you got to prove that to a court full of white people who may or may not have owned slaves themselves. But you know what? Let's say that all of their hearts were warmed and they agreed. They agreed 100 times that your slaves had meritorious service. Good job. Great. You are that kind of person. Now, you got to post a financial surety of £100 sterling per slave to guarantee that they're not going to become a burden to the colony, requiring public support if they fall into poverty. That's roughly $24,000 per slave in today's money, or for 100 slaves, that's an equivalent of $2.4 million. Well, you could do it because you're a good person, but Thomas Jefferson couldn't do that. So instead, he spent his life dropping £170 here and there to try to reunite families instead. And he taught them trades. He taught them to write. He taught them to read. And by every account, he was kind to them. Yes, including Sally Hemings, whose son wrote that they had a loving relationship. He made the very best of a very ugly situation that was forced upon him. And because he spent so much money reuniting families, he died without a fortune. Public school teaches history through a Marxist lens of victim-oppressor. And instead of American children learning the truth, they're taught to tear down those statues. Well, the truth is that in 1783, at the end of the Revolutionary War, there were 7 countries, just 7, in the world that had abolished slavery. You know who else had abolished slavery? 7 of the 13 original states. We should probably start to approach the past with a little more grace. These were the greatest men who ever lived. They were sinful like the rest of us. And they were from a entirely different time. But if we're seeking truth, then we should not use the critical eye of today's standards. Take care of yourselves.